Hi, this is Annie Gidros with our Spring Stitch With Me Challenge, where we learn 30 stitches in 30 days. Be sure to like, share, follow, comment, subscribe, so you don't miss a thing. Let's get started. All right, welcome back. Today we're going to loop in another simple stitch using Buttercup from I Love This Yarn. I'm loving these spring colors. They're so pretty. So we're getting back to these pastels today. We, as always, are going to loop in our yarn in that first stitch. And today I'm going to introduce a spike stitch. And the reason that I'm excited about the spike stitch is because I'm fixing to crochet my husband an Easter sweater that he doesn't know about. Now he does because I just put it on YouTube, but it uses what's called a spike stitch. So today we're going to all learn how to do a single spike, including me. And what we're going to start with is just a simple row of single crochets. So if you loop in your yarn, like we always do, you turn in your work. And we're just going to start this stitch with a row of single crochets all the way across. Can't get much easier than that. So let's set up this foundation row, and I will meet you back at the end where we will learn to spike. See you there. Okay, we are about 5 stitches away from the end of the row. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and actually start the spike stitch. All right, now this is where it gets easy peasy. Look at me. I told y'all to weave in all your ends as you go, and I have not been doing that. It's okay, we'll get them. Okay, so for your spike stitch, simple here. We're going to continue doing single crochets with a little twist. So in your first 2 stitches, we're going to do a regular single crochet. 1. Of course, in a single crochet, you just put your hook under the top of the previous stitch, and that's your single, okay? Now we're going to do a spike stitch. So instead of going under the first stitch as we always do, we're going to go down a row into the previous stitch from our blue row. So instead of going under our current yellow stitch, we're going to drop down to the previous row and go into our blue stitch. Pull up a loop, kind of loose so it comes up even with your row that you're on now, and pull through. So it's still a single crochet. We're just dropping down. So instead of this small V, we have a spiked V. So now we're going to alternate single crochet, spiked single crochet, single crochet, spiked single crochet. Again, instead of going into your loop or into the top of your stitch, you're going to go into the previous stitch. And if you look at my colors here, you can see that because that's where we put this stitch in for our previous row. Normally we'd go back into that stitch, but we're going to go into the same place where we put the stitch from our previous row. So into the blue and pull through. Again, that creates our long V as opposed to our regular single crochet V. Okay, so to the end of the row, we're going to now alternate single crochet, spike, single crochet. Now, if you forget which stitch you're on, simply look at the V from the previous stitch. Since this is a long V, this is a short V, we know the short V is next. All right, continue that pattern and I'll see you at the end of the row. All right, we're coming to the end of the row now, and you can see the V-stitch spikes. So you see the long stitch, that's your spiked V, and then you see your regular single crochet has this short V, long V, short V. So if you were to do a second row of this or a third row of this and you were to lose count of which one you were doing next, look at the stitch underneath it. You want to be doing the opposite of whatever is underneath. So in this stitch, you would do a long spike stitch. So we have our spike, we have our short V, spike, short V, spike. All right, let's finish the row. We ended with a spike stitch, so we're going to go into a single crochet. Spike stitch, single crochet, and note on these spike stitches, you don't have to limit yourself to a small spike. You can go into the stitch below, you could go into the stitch below that, you can go as far down as you want, creating these spikes to be whatever size you want them to be, but we're just doing the single crochet spike for this video. Okay, and then we're going to end these ends out of the way. We're going to end our row with a single crochet, and bind off there. All right, that is your single spike stitch, and I will see you back tomorrow.